Hey, it's Don the Auction Professor. Today is Sunday, so we do have another What's Sold on eBay. We're just going to go over to the screen and I'm going to show you some of what we sold this week.
Okay, so today it's not going to be the usual. I'm not picking random items. Yesterday we had a monster day. On one account I sold almost $4,200 on the count that I share with you. The other account we only sold $2,300. So literally yesterday, just on eBay, we did $6,500. It's the most I did since January 2nd. So on one account anyway. We have hit $4,000 many times in one day. It's not a usual occurrence. It usually happens about a half a dozen times if we're lucky a year. And it's usually around Christmas time or when we're putting out like a massive lot of retail arbitrage or something like that. But this time it's literally just items. We had a real good week in finding stuff. I listed a bunch of stuff together all at the same time. Many of these items were only up for a couple of days. Most of it's cards and things like that. But literally everything I'm going to show you here is literally just from the 25th, August 25th. Most of these should show up in the sold listing, so you can verify these. These are literally what we sold yesterday, and yesterday alone. It's minus a few things just because of time constraints. There's another half a dozen items that we sold just on this account again. Not the other account. I'm only including the account that I share with you. So altogether, again, it was like $6,500. But what I do sometimes is I'll, set a certain percentage off, and I still expect to take less than even the discounted price. So on this one here, I took $10. Now, I sold a bunch to the same person on one spot. I had 4 different people buying multiple items just yesterday. And I talk about this, that it happens every day of the week. It honestly does. Yesterday alone, I had 4 different people buy at least 4 items or more each person. So that helps to increase your sales. So again, $4,200 on the count that I'm showing you. There's, I think, $200 or so that I'm not including in this. Again, time constraint, and they're just almost identical to some of these items on here. So anyway, this is the majority, like 95% of what we sold just yesterday. So this one went for $10. These are all trade cards. This one was up for a little while just by the number. I took 5 on this one. It's a nice looking card. It just takes the right person to pop in and see it. And I've got pennies into this card here, I know, because I got it with a bunch of cards from Hat Collection. So anyway, we're going to pop onto the next one here. Same person bought this one here. This one was 8 I got for it, so roughly half or so. Again, this one was up for a little while. I've probably got 30 cents into listing it. It's a neat little card. It is for European, like a hotel, literally. So these usually sell. Anything that says hotel, usually never worry about having problems with selling them. So I just leave them up. I just leave them up till they sell, because I usually, at the end of the day, postcards or whatever the case may be, they will still sell. Let's see here. Next one. And again, these are all just from yesterday, Saturday the 25th. Another one. This one went to the same person. I took 6 on this one. Let's see. And this one was up for a while, probably a year. So no big deal. Again, cheapo item. Even if I had $1 well, let's use this one for example. Let's say this one was up for a year. I took $8 on this one here. Had it up for 18, so I got more than the 1/3, which is what I expected to get out of it. So I actually took more. This is a very common card. The person who bought this actually said that other people do have it cheaper. They still made me an offer over theirs because they would rather buy it from me because they know 100% what they're going to get. My images are what the item looks like. When they get it, they're very happy. My shipping is immediate, next day or same day, and my packing is, it's like a bulletproof container when these things arrive. So I know quite a few people have now bought my postcards or other items, so you have seen how I wrap, so you can pass the word on. I do pack very well. That does help, and it does steer people to me away from other sellers who don't really follow through on every aspect of it. So they know if my item's going to look a certain way, it's going to be that way. They know it's going to be sent immediately. They know, when it arrives, the condition and how it is going to be shipped, and that my price structure for shipping is always the same. There's no question about it. All has tracking. It's done immediately, no later than within 24 hours. Usually, if they're paid before the post office arrives around 2, it goes out that very same day. So anyway. Again, this one was 8. Let's move on to the next one. Again, these are all from just yesterday. So this past week, I don't know what happened this past week, but my sales just skyrocketed. You know, it made my rest of my month right now. I don't really need any more money coming in if I didn't want to or didn't want to have to work or anything. I could just turn eBay off. I've already made my entire month with an increase from last year, a great increase. Again, I've been steadily up. This one just whomped me yesterday. I was busy handling, offers all day long, and they were good offers back and forth. Lots of questions and stuff. I had no idea what's going on. Everybody's bringing their kids back to school, so it really shouldn't have started until next week. But, who knows? Whatever the case may be, I'm going to take the 6,500 we sold on eBay yesterday. I cannot complain. And again, this one account here is $4,200 we sold on it. Now, this one here, somebody asked me back and forth on the size. They're an artist. As I said, a lot of these vintage items are done by artists. This is going to be added to a photo as a piece of the matting work and stuff, and then this is going to be framed with the photo. I ask them on these questions sometimes just to see if there's something else I could be doing to give better chances on these selling. So it doesn't hurt at all to ask feedback from the people buying from you. What are they buying it for, if you don't mind asking? No offense, intended. If you don't want to tell me, that's perfectly understandable. I just like to help, blah, 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 make up some story on that. So anyway, I just, try to get some information from them. So this one did sell at $14.88. Very happy with it they were. So anyway, at the price anyway. This one here I sold for $12.50. It was a neat card. It's very nice. It's got some nice details, nice colors, maybe a Brundage or something like that possibly. I'm not really sure. But $12.50, I'm happy with it. It's a little less than, well, actually it's right on. It's 30%. So, I guess this one fits it perfectly to my 3 times. And that is literally what I try to get. This is like an $8 card, maybe a $10 card. I took $12.50. So, I can't complain about that at all. Now this one has a little rip in it. Well, maybe not necessarily a rip, but a little crease there. I took $10 on this one. It's been up for a little while, 45 cents in listing it. Let's see here. Let's get the next item. This one sold for full price. This one was up for like 3 months. I think I showed this in a haul. It's a topper doll. Dawn was the female figure from this line. The men sell a little better. You hold on to it for a few months, but these always sell. I just picked up some more Dawn dolls, actually. I have no problem selling dolls. I usually can get them pretty cheap, especially because a lot of the places I go, it's mostly men, and I'm not trying to be, sexist or anything like that. It just seems to be the type of people that are there. And all the women and the dolls and women's clothing and things like that just sit there. I don't mind buying any of that stuff as long as it's going to be profitable. For 50 cents, I bought this one here. So anyway. This one here I sold for $15. Now, this is Palmer Cox. Now, if you don't know who that is, open up a window and do a quick search on eBay for comps. Palmer Cox. There's books. There's all kinds of stuff on that. It's the characters that he did. These are brownies. There's actually a book, the brownies and things like that. There's actually brownies in some of the newspapers and magazines of the day. So anyway, that's why these are popular. Anything with the brownies on it sells. There's postcards too. There's paper dolls. There's books, even some magazine covers with the brownies on it. Almost all of that sells, and as I said, Palmer Cox is the artist for this. He's another name you should know. There's always a bunch of names that you should honestly know when you're doing eBay and looking up these things. So, and that's just one of them. I run into something by him constantly. Let's see your next one. Here's some more. Now, these aren't technically Palmer Cox brownies, but they are brownies, so I didn't want to put his name in there. This one sold for $13, and again, that's about half what my asking price was for, and even with the discount. So I got above and beyond my 3 times on this one. It was up maybe, 7 months or so. Let's move on to the next one here. And again, these are all just yesterday's sales. Just yesterday's. I'm not showing you anything else. Just yesterday's. You can see what a monster day does to you. Let's see here. This one sold for $8. $14.50 was the original. It was marked down to $12.32, and then I took an $8 offer. This was one of the multi-purchases to somebody else too. They only buy cute little kids on cards. I've got another one that bought for me thread cards. Another one that bought photos of military planes, and then another one that bought trade cards. Actually, I had 5 multi-purchases now that I think about it today, but I'll think if I can remember, I'll call call them out to you. Here's some film. Now, I've talked about this. This is just expired film from the 70s through the 90s. And this I got $12 out of these. It's 4 rolls. One's opened. You know, they're still going to work, but you have to play with the settings when you do these vintage films. I always sell these, and I can get these dirt cheap. Sometimes pennies on the box. Even at, you know, big bins of them sometimes, and pallet-wise, you can buy these. And don't think you're not going to sell expired film. It always sells if it's good quality Kodak or something along that line. Kodak's usually what I look for, and I buy bins of these sometimes. Sometimes I'll buy a tote with like 400 expired rolls from like the 70s, 80s, and 90s in it, and I always make money on them. You're averaging $2 a roll minimum, and some of them go to $10, $15, $20 a roll expired, even from the 70s and stuff. And I've sold rolls all the way back into the 40s that were new old stock that never were used, and they still sell very well too. So now I don't know if those would be usable, but you know, they're buying them, so it doesn't matter to me really. Now, this is Cobb Shin. Now, there's a bunch of postcards by Cobb Shin. I knew the names, so for me, it was an easy buy on this one here. This one was 50 cents with a bunch of other ones. I've sold quite a few, but this person's an artist and for the postcard market, and he did these too. Now, I'm not even sure what this is. It's just a piece of paper, a letter. I don't think it was actually signed. Yeah, it's not even signed by him. This is just somebody telling what it was to giving it to somebody. But it did sell for $17.50, so anyway, let's move on to the next one. Now, here's one of the better trade cards I sold. This one I got 45 out of. And again, these are all yesterday's. This is a metamorphic, meaning that you flap it open and it changes the image on it. It's got a heavy crease on it, which is mentioned. You can see it across the kids' faces. You can see the minor damage to it. This is a scarcer one. I've only seen one other one of these, and it wasn't as nice as this, even with the damage. So, but you can see the quality of the card very easily on these images. Let's move on to the next one here. We're going to go into some high dollar cards here in just a few moments. This one was $37.50 out of it. And this is a scarcer one, the real Scotch. Scotch linen. Now, there's a ton of thread cards out there. J&P Coates and O&T Clark's are the two common ones. Bernard's, there's several of them, but this is a scarce one. This one doesn't show up very often, so I knew right off the bat it was worth the $1 I paid for it, so $37.50 out of this one. And one person, I'm showing you several from the same person that bought these. This one here I sold for $75, and this is actually a label off of something. Somebody probably yanked this off of a tin can or something back in the 1880s. Thurber and Company is one of the main companies that made canned goods back in that era. There's many others, but Thurber is the one you're going to see more often than not. If it was by another brand, it probably would have sold for twice this. So $75 for this label. Let's move on here. And again, these are all from yesterday. You know, I just had a phenomenal day. This one I sold for $100. This is actually a skirt label. It would have been stapled or sewed to an actual piece of clothing back in the 1880s. Literally, that's what this is. It's very interesting. You just don't see this kind of stuff very often. I buy tags and stuff like that, big lots of them. Sometimes I'm lucky enough to find these at scrapbook garage sales or scrapbook sales. Don't discount it because they're new items, because a lot of these scrapbookers hunt down this stuff and buy just individual pieces all the time. So I'm able to find some really good key items from these scrapbookers too, even vintage items all the time. So anyway, and they don't mind spending a couple bucks on something, and usually they just throw it in a bin and they don't even remember what they paid for it. So I'm getting them dirt cheap for the most part. Let's move on to the next one. This one was also $100. There was two collectors that bought two. One is in charge of an art department at a major university, and he bought some of the higher dollar ones you're going to see here later on. But altogether, as I said, there's like I think 16 different buyers that bought from us yesterday. And again, 5 of those bought multiple items. So anyway, we sold 40 plus items yesterday. This one I took 40 on. Probably the imagery is what sold this one here. It's a very nice Native American hunting a buffalo. I thought that was very neat. Well done. It looks like an engraved image. It sold very well. I was very happy with this one. This one was up for like 3 days. I have a bunch that were only up for 1 to 3 days. And that goes into my philosophy. You're going to sell a bunch if you list good items. If I list 100 items, I'm going to sell 3 to 5% of those that same day, sometimes within hours. This one was up for like 4 or 5 months. It's not, I mean, there's nothing really in this image. It wasn't a great image. I took $5 on it. You know, what the heck? I got $1 or less into this, and I believe this was like a 50 center. No price. Yeah, this is probably 50 cent or bought in bulk. There's no price in the back, so chances are I didn't even buy this at a antique mall. It was probably just bought from a picker or something. Cards like this I don't pay much for, so I could have even paid $0.25, but there's no way I paid more than $1 for it. Somebody didn't mark this one down. You can see they wanted to, or mark it down. They didn't zoom in on this one, but it's still sold. I took $10 for this. This is a common card. $3 to $4 is average price on these. But again, people are buying from me because they know what they're going to get from me. The quality is going to be good. It's going to be wrapped properly and shipped immediately, and they're going to be happy with it. You know, that's my goal here across the board on all these items. So anyway, that was a good one. And again, it's quantity here. You know, I talk about having a lot of stuff up. This is a perfect example. You know, I sold a ton of stuff yesterday. Even discounting some of the high dollar items, we'd have still sold a couple $1,000 yesterday, no matter what. You know, it was just a phenomenal day. Hopefully everybody else had one. You know, I'm not trying to brag on that, but, you know, for us, it kind of blew me out of the water. I wasn't expecting it. You know, I have no explanation on why the sales skyrocketed yesterday versus any other day of the week. You know, we had been running an average of like $7.75. The prior month, we were running around $7.50. This is our daily average sale price, you know, total sales for that day. And again, though, yesterday it was $4,200 just on this account. We went out and you know, bought dinner last night. We were just, you know, we were happy about the sales. Things were going good, so we took the night off. You know, I don't usually do that, but $4,200, I just couldn't resist. We got a nice steak, and, you know, the whole works out. But anyway, this one went for, let's see, $10 here on this one. Here's another one. This one went to one of the same people that bought the others. And this one went for $12. So I cannot complain on the prices on these. They're not super common, but there's a ton of these kinds of cards out here. These average usually sell $3 to $5. So, you know, I'm getting 10. I'm getting more than what they sell for religiously on a lot of these items. And, you know, there's more to this. You've got to have the whole package deal. Once someone buys from you and they see the difference between someone else's descriptions or someone else's quality, someone else's packing, how they protect the card, how it's wrapped, how quickly it's wrapped, chances are they're going to buy from you. I'll buy and spend a few bucks more to get something from a vendor that I know how he's going to handle it, and I know I don't have anything to worry about. You know, I'm not going to take potluck chances these days anymore most of the time. And that's how the people are in the collector world too. My name has gotten around because we sell a ton of the same items from the same category. So, you know, many people, anybody who collects in, you know, trade cards and postcards knows who I am. You know, across the board, at least in trade cards area. But anyway, so... you know, I talked about clothing. I think I spent $2 or $3 on this one here. I'm trying to blow it out right now. I took $20 on it, which is half. Well, it's a little more than half, but $20 on it. It's a small size. That's part of the problem on this one here. And it's got a little wear here, but this is an official, like a police security patrol jacket too. So not super pricey. If this was newer, more usable, with a bigger size, it would have been a better price. You know, better return on my investment. So you know, I made like $14 on this thing. Again, I'm not a big clothes person anymore. I've pretty much dropped them all off. This one here was $57.50, sold straight out. Now, I had a couple of these. This is a local performer. So some of his, Tommy Lloyd's, show up on local area labels too. This is Illinois, not too far away, but it was a nice record. It's fairly scarce. I had 2 of these. So I'm going to put another one up, obviously. So anyway, $57.50. And again, if you're just joining the video, this is just from one day sale. We did $4,200 on this account yesterday, Saturday the 25th of 2018. This one I really liked the artwork on it. I was almost on the verge of keeping this just for the graphics quality. It's rather interesting. It's just something you don't see. It's for thread. It's another rare thread card, and it did sell for the $8. So you know, 808. So anyway, and this one was up for a little while, not that long. Let's move to the next one. Roller skating labels. This one I took 20 on. They offered 15. I said 20 and let it go. Didn't hear anything, and then it sold yesterday. So anyway, Let's move on to the next one. Now we're going into photos now. Now one person bought, I think it was maybe 8, 10, 11 photos, something like that. It was around 200 and some odd bucks. I took $20 a piece on these. They're not fighters. They're nothing special. They don't look fancy or anything. The photos, I've got a bunch of these. $20 is very good. These usually sell for maybe $10 for some of the common ones. Some of the other ones could sell up to 50 or 60. But you're going to see I got a bunch of these. Here's another one, $20. Another one, $20. Another one, $20. Again, these are all the same person. Okay, so here is another one. Again, 20 more bucks off this one. I don't really worry when they're like this and somebody's buying a bunch of them. I'm always happy to give a better price when they're buying a bunch, because it's a better sale. It's more profit from the same thing all at once. And again, that helps with the listing a bunch of items at the same time. Now here's another one. Again, 20 more bucks on this one. As I said, I sold a bunch to this same gentleman. I don't know if I have them all in order here, but I did, I think, include all the photos so you can kind of see. Now this one's a little better one. It's a King Cobra, but still. It's still just a standardized 8x10 photo printed from, one of the government contractors. So we'll move on to the next one. Another $20. Another one here, another $20. This one's a pretty cool plane, though. I do like the planes, the styles, and the whole works. Again, most of these are all like World War II-ish. There were some earlier ones in here, too, but you can see it's nothing really fancy. Standard size plane. And you'll see photos, sometimes 10 different angles of the same plane. This one you can see the Bell Aero Systems Company stamping on the back. That meant that it was printed by them. It's an official one. They only made a couple hundred of these probably, and given out to like defense plants or contractors or something along that line. So anyway, I buy these all the time too. Whenever I run into big stacks of these, sometimes you can get lucky and buy them from a collector. So next one here. Now, I used to put these up as auction. I bought a lot of 200 of these not too long ago. I listed 100 of them as auction, and I only sold a couple. And I listed them for a 10-day auction, and then I relisted them 2 more times, so they ran for 30 days, all 100 of them. And I didn't do very well at all. And I even put them up cheaper than I'm selling them here. And I learned from that to never list them on auction. There's very few that it's worth doing. I usually just put them up for $24.50, unless it's like Lindbergh or, a Ragtime or something along that line. Okay, and then a lot of these we do sell overseas too, so you got to keep that in mind. You have to be willing to send some of these overseas to make some sales on these, and that's just what I find out from doing this for many years. But these always do sell for us, and as I said, I sell 1, sometimes 2 a week. Some days I'll sell 5 or 6 to the same person. But again, I never do them as auctions anymore at all. It's just not worth the time, the hassle. Just blow them up as a bin. Next one here. This is another one. This one actually, I did have a 6th person, now that I think about it, that bought 2 items from me or more. This one bought 2 cards, both with Queen Victoria, for plow companies, both plow cards too. Those are the ones that posted or put most of her pictures on them, were plow companies for some odd reason. They did the Kaiser and things too. But that one went for 40, and this one here I took 45 on. There's a little damage on her dress, the white spots you see there on her dress. That shouldn't be there. I'm not sure what happened. Maybe somebody got some tape and stuck onto it and he pulled it off or something. I'm not really sure. But either way, I was happy. $95 to one person. Going to England. Now, most of these for the Queen Victoria, as I said, do go back to England. So it's an interesting card either way. This one showed up in a postcard lot too, just FYI. It's the same size. Now here's the first one of the expensive ones that I sold. This one I got $750 for. It went to the head of the art department for a university who's bought from me for several years. Any one of these that say wood engraving or show cards, show print, show posters, theatrical posters, printing company cards like this can sell extremely high. I sell like one like this like every month at least, if not a couple a month, when I'm lucky enough to get them, and I've been getting them all the time. This week alone I sold like 6 different cards in that price range of this type. Half of them were today, or yesterday actually, on the 25th of August. So I'm going to show you some more from this same person too. One person bought a single one on his own as well, and I've got some more still to go up from this collection. I got like a dozen or so of these that should should average like $7.50 a piece or so, and that's from a collection. I sunk some money into a huge collection, not just these, but a bunch of other stuff too. And this is a long-time print collector that I bought from. So anyway, this is a primo card. It was actually engraved as it says on a block of wood by hand, and then all those details are printed in it very carefully, obviously. So this was a very, very nice card. So anyway, let's move on to the next one. Now this is actually, somebody got off a tin can of the day. This is actually from a can of fresh bay lobster. Literally, I'm not sure. I would imagine they shelled it, but maybe even not. They might have just cut them up after they cooked them and thrown them in a can. This may have been something they just used for like a broth or soup stock or something back then. I'm not even sure. Haven't looked into it much. It's an odder name too, so. Now here's another one of the show cards. Now this one's on thinner paper, and it's got a little curl to it, so I took $650 on this one. I threw them all up there around the same price, just because I know what they sell for on average. I know what I get for them. This was engraved by hand on a block of wood, and then printed in the different colors, you know, as they went through the process. We've done wood block in college years ago, so, you know, I kind of know how it all works. But anyway, it's a rather interesting one, but it's just not as thick of a paper. It's a more cheaper stock that it was printed on compared to the other one that I got $750 for. So again, $650 this one sold for. So let's move on to the next one. Now this is the highest price of one of these R.C. Brown cards. It's a tobacco company. That was Stratton and Storm Cigars. Now this is a common brand, and R.C. Brown's a common company as well too. Most of these cards are like 10 or 15 bucks. This one's a graphical one that was woodblock printed as well. Early 1870s to like say 1874, 1875. That's when this card was made. So it was a primo one. I sold it for $350 bucks on this one. And I got a couple more similar to this one. Usually these kinds of cards, they made them in sets like 4 and 6. So I do have a couple more to put up. I'm anticipating the other ones will go around that same price. So let's pop on to the next one. Now this is just a print ad, and I've talked about print ads before too, many times. Size-wise, somebody asked me a question on size. Now on the print ads, the older they are, the smaller they can be. If it's like 30s or newer, the rule of thumb is you want at least a full page or half a page at the very, very least, but full page is really what you're looking for. If it's newer than 30s, shoot for a full page for most anything you can get. If it's not a full page, I don't really mess with it. Now when you go below the 30s and into the 20s and 10s, they can be smaller and be fine with the size. I've sold 1870s, even some 1860s that were only an inch square or 2 inches square, and I sold those for, you know, real good money. And they sold fairly well. It just depends on the subject matter itself. There wasn't a lot of print ads back in, you know, the 1850s, 60s, and even in the real early 1870s. It just wasn't something people did, and they didn't put a lot of money into artwork. Usually the ads back then were a couple just lines of text with a price. Maybe there'd be a bold title to the ad or something, the item you're selling, but that was really about it, other than maybe trains. You'll see some of the earliest ones were like an engraving of a train advertising like the local train runs or something like that. But this one here is a little different. A lot of the quack medicine will always sell small, larger, and different. And if there's a trade card or a postcard advertising it from like 1910 or before, chances are the postcards were something, chances are that the print ad would be worth something as well, comparable to the trade card or the postcard. So just keep that in mind on some of these. Okay, we'll go on to the next one. This one we took 10 for. It's just a little elf. I've had a couple of these. These do show up. It's a fairly common card, like a $5 card usually. And again, as I said, I do sell most items for more than most people. I don't mind holding on to them. Here's another one, $10 card here. You know, these do sell. It's just a type card too, so anyway. Here's a stove card for Acorn Stoves. I took 15 on this one. Cute little kids. These sell fairly often and fairly well. Let's move on to the next one. Real picture postcard. I took 30 on this one here, probably because of the hat. That is why I think the person was willing to pay that much for it. He's got a leather baseball cap on, overalls. You can see the label. Unfortunately, you can't make out who it's by, but had you been able to tell what type of overalls he was wearing, they probably would have sold for even higher than the 30 that I did sell it for. Let's move on. Pottery and stuff like that I don't mess with too much anymore. We usually end up chipping like 10% of it or breaking before it's listed or during the storage process, or even when we're packing it up all together. And that's with being careful. I'm just not a big fan of it. You know, you get a bunch on a shelf or something, one falls over and you chipped a couple pieces. So a long time ago we just dumped like half of what we had up, took it all off eBay, you know, and just trashed it or donated it to someone. But this one did sell for $50. Got like $1 into the set of them, so they're cute. So that's part of the reason I bought them. I thought they'd be a little quicker mover, but anyway, we still sold them. Made $15 or better profit on these after all said and done. So this record was up for like a day. Voice Masters. It's a soul. It's a promo. It went to England. They spent the $14.50 to have it shipped. So that did sell for full price, $17.50. So pretty happy on that one. That was like a quarter record too. So we'll go on to the next item. Now this is a Superhuman Samurai Cyber Squad figure. He's like 2¼ inches tall. Most people pass these things up. I pay a nickel probably for this one here. I bought a bunch of these, and I'll pay up to $0.25. Sometimes I'll even pay $1 for them this size because I always sell them. The bigger ones even sell better. We made $7 profit after all said and done on this one little tiny figure. May not seem like, you know, worth that to some people, but it's a quick list. Just quick. I didn't even need all these photos. So probably 2 photos would have been fine on this one here. Anybody who's looking for this, I'm going to know right off the bat what it was. So anyway, this one here we sold for $10. Another photo here, $20 on this one. That was the last one. And then here's the last high dollar one. This one I got $750 out of, $750. This one again is a wood engraved one. It was actually carved by hand into a block of wood with this design. So it takes artisans to do this, and they're printed separately with different colors and all. But this is a really fabulous one. 1870s, early. It's got nice graphics. This is what a graphical card should look like. The person who bought this is a longtime buyer from us. They've bought for several years as well. And I usually know who's going to buy what. There's a group of 2 or 3 people. It just depends on who gets to it first on these. I don't email anybody when they go up. So I'd just be doing that all the time if I kept lists on, you know, tell me when you got this going up or tell me when you got that going up. But when this went up, I knew it was going to be one of 2 or 3 different people that would buy it. So anyway, again, these are huge movers. I sell these kind of cards at least once a month. I picked up a big collection of cards, and that's where this one came from as well too. So this was a quicker list. I listed all this group together only because I had a bunch of them. So $750 on this last one. And as I said, these are all sales that happened on the 25th of August yesterday. $4,200 just on this account, and I think I've showed you almost all of that right here. So there's a few items that I'm not actually including, as I said, just because they were, you know, duplicates basically of what you've seen. And time-wise, I'm trying to keep these videos to 30-35 minutes, just to save some of my time so I have more time to list and do other things that, you know, I need to bring more money in to keep our business going. But anyway, that's what I have for you today. Hopefully that gave you some ideas. The money's out there. It's still out there. Our sales are way up, so hopefully yours are too. If you're not going to do these kind of days in clothing. There's just not many days that people can sell $4,000, $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 worth of clothing in one single day of the week, unless it's like on retail arbitrage. Like I said, retail arbitrage, you might sell, you know, thousands of dollars, which we have in the past many times, but you're not keeping most of that money because you have to cover the cost of the item. So let's say you sold a $100 item on retail arbitrage, you paid $60 for it, you got $10, $15 in fees, you know. So at the end of the day, you're only making $25 off of that. So I get 80% or better on the profit on all these items, you know, after the fees, after the cost of the item, everything is taken care of. So anyway, that's what I have for you today.
Well, there you go. That's some of what we sold. Again, just a random mix of stuff. You can see it's just an oddball mix, mostly paper, and small items like that. And that's what we sell the majority of. We sell a ton of it. We've got a ton of it up. It's a big, huge money maker. The market has not changed. It has not dropped. Paper has always been collectible for 20 plus years of me being on eBay. Unlike clothing, which can go up and down or be flooded as it is right now. So that's what I have for you today. Hopefully that gave you some ideas and some thoughts. If you enjoyed the video, please hit the like button down below. You can also hit the bell icon up top to be notified when I post new content or go live. Subscribe and tell a friend.